Or Frank, you want to present this one? No.
Sure.
All
Sure.
right.
So the other day, I came across this video that talks about JOHNHENRYISM. And you're like, what the hell is that? So JOHNHENRYISM is if you listen to the name, you kind of like figure out what it is. But the definition is it's a psychological concept that describes a coping style characterized by high effort, determination, and perseverance in the face of adversity. It's named after the legendary African-American folk hero John Henry, who was known for his strength and endurance in a race against a steam-powered drill. The video that I shared with the group was focused on how a lot of Black men have JOHNHENRYism almost innately, and have grown up with it most of their lives, and a lot of us even die. Like die to our dying day. Just high effort, determination, and perseverance, working to for the goal of providing for our families, for providing for ourselves, but most importantly, for feeling like we matter in society. And D brought up a point where, like, as Black men, we're already like, we already have a strike just by the color of our skin. And we have to work that much harder in order to be seen and accepted. And, a lot of people might think like, okay, I don't care to be accepted by people who see me as less than. And that is a perfectly fine stance to take. But it affects a lot of people in very negative ways, even though it seems like, high energy, high effort and determination. Yeah, we can do anything. But the psychological toll that it takes on the individual who experiences this, it could be fatal. It can be fatal. It has potential to be severely psychologically damaging, or it takes a toll on our mental health. So I just I shared the video with these guys, and I wanted to just kind of talk about it. I can say that I have experienced this. I do experience this on a day-to-day basis. Most of my work ethic is honestly, it seems to be striving for something that I don't know where the finish line is. Right? Like I don't know if I'll ever be like I feel accepted by myself, by my family, by the people that matter. But like I feel like myself and other individuals who share this like don't see an end in sight. Like, we will continue to work for as long as possible until our bodies are physically unable to. And at the detriment of our physical and mental health. And I don't think that it's something to be praised or something to be looked up to. It's a concept to be looked up to. I just feel like it's something that we should talk about or discuss so we can learn how to manage it and maybe find another way so that it doesn't literally kill us.
Yeah. Like I remember when when you presented, when you put that video in the group chat, like that explanation when the lady got her name Raquel Martin. So she had a whole like a little TikTok, or not TikTok, but she had a whole breakdown of like the symptoms and like how it impacts Black men. And what she was explaining, like the concept of JOHNHENRYism, and it's essentially the whole idea of like a Black man having to prove himself to the point where he is willing to work himself to death for a lack of any idea of what else he could or should be doing, right? And I saw it, and I thought about it immediately, like I can relate to that, and maybe not even for me particular, but it made me think of my dad. In all honesty, my dad's a guy who it's hard to say, but he's kind of been a hustler. He's like been a pretty successful hustler his whole life, or at least my life, right? Whereas like he's always got some idea going on that he's got to work on. He's got to figure out some shit on the side, right? And it's not really like, it's not to the point where it's like even beneficial. It's just something he got to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's trying to provide his family, and he does, right? But that doesn't seem to be like the goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the goal is
to continue working.
Yeah, I can't. If I sit here idle, like one of the things he said to me before is just like, yeah, if I like, you know, he said to me before, when people stop working, that's when they die. And like that was like a whole like, you know, I didn't really think too much of it at the time, but it's just like one of those things like, oh, if you have that worldview, I can definitely like see that. Like I see myself to the degree where it's like my value, I feel like often is tied to the work or my ability to work.
It unfortunately is. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say real quick, like unfortunately in society, for a lot of men, black men too, in particular, like you said, a lot of our value is tied to what we can provide.
Mm-hmm.
As men, and that's it, right? Like because we don't have the ability to give birth to children, right?
Mm-hmm.
And children are the future. But as men, our value in society in general is only perceived by what we can provide, what we can give to society. But it's all give. And you know, we might have that idea, and people around us, people that we care about, don't see us in that regard. But it's one of those things that it's just like so overarching, and it's almost like a compulsion for us, that we just continue to work and work and work and work and work and work. And to what end? Some people might think of themselves, if they stop working, that they're a failure. Some people might think like you're dead, where if we stop working, we're dead.
Yeah.
Like,
or you only rest when you're dead. Like that's
right.
When
you only rest when you're dead. Right. There is a saying, I'll rest when I'm dead.
Yeah.
Right. That's not a great saying.
It's not. But it's also like it's a culture. Like I think it's an American culture.
It's an American culture, 100%.
Specifically,
100%.
When you think about the story of John Henry, do y'all remember seeing the John Henry cartoon?
The book. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Like y'all remember, and then at the time you don't think about it. You're like, I remember looking at it like, yo, he's cool. Look how strong this guy is.
He's a hero.
He beat this machine.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, he died at the end. That's weird. But,
yeah,
like that's how powerful man is, right?
Yeah,
and as a young guy, you're like, you look up to this.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't realize.
With his two hammers, with
his
two hammers and himself, like, and his muscles, like, oh man, he's a hero. He's so strong. Got his girl
on his shoulder.
He's so strong, and he did it. He did it. Like, you can do anything, and then they just gloss over the fact that this man died. He worked himself to death. For what? Just to prove that he can outwork a machine. There's layers to that. It's like why on earth? Anyway, get a little bit away from this, but like, go ahead.
There's layers. You're right. There's layers to that, man. You wonder like why we work so hard now, right? Like we work hard to provide for our families. We work hard to make the best life we can, to live a good, comfortable life, right? But we also know that in this world, like money is not tied to your labor. Like money is like success is not tied to labor. You can work hard as fuck and make nothing.
Little.
Yes, and that's one of the things we don't really think about, right? Like not to make this like a general commentary, but like on social on the labor class and whatnot, but like that this is the way the powers that be like it. They like thinking that they like people thinking that the more we work, the better off we are.
With black
or pointing at other people who are not working as hard and being like, you're less than me. It's a value. It's our valuation, and it's again, it's a distinctly American thing. We had it in our cartoons, in our comic books. Like, it's in the black men in particular. We think about our black heroes, like the Black Superman, literally, like steel, man. Like the dude's got the hammer. He's built in the form of John Henry. Like how ingrained is that?
I mean, you could even go so far. You could even go so far as to like look at like a lot of our black role models and heroes, past and present. A lot of them were assassinated.
Yeah,
you know, like Martin Luther King, killed, gone in America. I mean, but like, you know, like they were killed for trying to be seen as more than, and to trying to lead other black people to be seen as more than, to rise up and to understand that you are more than the color of your skin. You are more than you're more than the color of your skin. You are the contents of your character, right? You are who you are, and that's where that's where people have the right to judge you, you know. And it's there's this rhetoric where that's tied to us. And it's not just us. It's like all brown people, right? All like it's just where in America you have to work yourself to the bone just to survive, barely, you know. Like talking 2-3, like both parents. If you have both parents, work 2-3 jobs. You know, never rest, never get a day off, never spend time with their children. You know, like just to make it, just to survive. And people be, and like, you know, God forbid someone has a heart attack on the job. So God forbid someone collapses on the job. God forbid someone gets sick on the job, right? Like most jobs, unfortunately, with people in the 2-3 job category, they don't offer any insurance, you know, because you're trying to make as much as possible. They
literally limit your hours so you cannot get insurance without making
you're not full time
that hourly quota. Yeah, you're not making those hours to qualify.
So it's like there's again layers, right? Because there's so much tied to American culture, and there's so much tied to corporations and the way, especially the private sector, and the government, of course, but the way they run things, as far as giving benefits to people who work so much harder than people at the top, but giving them nothing back really in return. And it just fuels this John Henryism. You know, it just keeps it going as a vicious cycle where people will literally die.
Let me read the
Good.
I was gonna read the origin. I was on my Wikipedia here. It says the term was conceived in the 1970s by African American epidemiologist,
right,
and public health researcher Sherman James, while he was investigating racial health disparities between black people and others in North Carolina. One of the people he interviewed was a black man who, despite being born into an impoverished sharecropper family and having only a second-grade education, could read and write. The man had freed himself and his children from the sharecropper system, had 75 acres, farmed land by age 40, but by his 50s, he had hypertension, arthritis, and severe peptic ulcer disease. His name was John Henry Martin, and the circumstances were evocative of folk hero John Henry.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
This is a guy who literally worked himself to death.
Yeah. He worked vigorously enough to complete a successfully steam-powered machine, but died as a result of his effort. So, evocative. So, this guy effectively, like, you know, worked himself to death. Like, he was successful. Like, for a black man in that time period, this was the 70s, but like for a black man, he had pretty much built. He built. He had a farm. He had land, and he was working. And he all off of like effectively only a second grade education, just working with his hands.
That's the thing. It's like, I know it's different for everyone, but like, when is enough enough? You know, like, when is enough enough? Like, you can be successful, you can have everything, and it constitutes that you don't really need to work as much as you're used to. But it's like, up here, for most black men, it's like, we got to keep going, but why?
I think it's the pressures of society, right? Like you said, we're already behind the 8 ball being black men, right? Like, in this society, we're kind of seen as the number one threat, right? We're the most threatening. So you have a lot. You feel like as a man, you have a lot you have to prove. You have to prove that you can provide. You have to prove that you're not a threat. And like you said, Frank, like once you are no longer able to provide, some people feel like there goes their worth, especially as a man. Like,
a lot of men feel that way.
We don't really have a lot of outlets, and thank God for the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast, because we don't really have a lot of outlets to express our feelings, right? Like, as men, we're not supposed to really feel as much. We're just supposed to do. We're just supposed to provide. You're just supposed to be there and just, make sure things run as smooth as possible, right? But I mean, racial discrimination is a hell of a stressor, right? And I'm not saying a lot of us feel racial discrimination daily, not outright, but it's there in the American psyche. You always feel like it's there in the background, right?
It is. I feel like it is because all it takes is the opportunity for it to happen, and usually the opportunity comes out in different scenarios, usually involving police, right? But it's always like just right there beneath the surface, and all it takes is like here, the whole idea of, all right, this is about women, but like the whole idea of like women, and like the fact that black women have higher rates of childbirth fatalities, right? Childbirth related fatalities. There's no real reason for that other than they don't get the same amount of care because of a number of just assumptions that are made about the black women, these pregnant women, right? It's just a fact. Like this, like our world, the world we live in, has a set of underlying assumptions about us that constantly work to our detriment, and like, so the whole idea of like black men being perceived as, just like you said, more dangerous. Like, we've seen countless examples of like just young black men just being like confronted, attacked, like just targeted for being young and black, right? We're just being a black males. Like we're a threat automatically because we're perceived by this race culture of being just already having these assumptions stuck to us,
even by black people. And that doesn't have to be just by white cops or white people.
Didn't say that. True.
Yeah. I mean, you jump to those conclusions. I mean, by Asians, I remember when I was younger and I had my cornrows, and I got pulled over, and I guess I was going a little fast, and cop pulled me over, black dude too. Hey man, you didn't see me, kind of getting an attitude and everything, and he went back, was scam ID. Didn't have a record, didn't have any tickets, anything, just let me go. But it's like, even by black people, we're kind of you kind of feel profiled a little bit. That's just the way this thing has kind of been ingrained into all of us. I mean, even me, like if I'm walking out at night, I work at night, and I mean, if I see a group of black people, I'll block the door. You know what I'm saying? That's just me. You know what I mean? That's just kind of a joke. It's kind of a joke, but it's kind of serious, right? If
you see people walking at night, you should probably lock the door.
yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Like if there were a bunch of white people, you wouldn't be like,
it's like
fine.
The stereotypes.
Come on in.
The point is, and I'm joking. The point is, but the stereotypes are kind of ingrained even in us, against us.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean?
That's how propaganda works, man. That's kind of makes us our biggest enemy at times.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny that I'm talking about this while wearing a Captain America shirt. I love America. I am American, right? This country has made me who I am. I'm proud of who I am. But I tell a lot of Africans that I work with this, man, it's hard being a black American sometimes, because you want to be proud of your country. You want to be proud, right? Like, I am who I am because of where I am, but this country ain't never been proud of me, like they've never shown me, you feel like you're accepting as a human being, right? And you feel like this country has never really accepted you kind of as the human being that you are. Especially the black man. We get the brunt of all of the negative stereotypes, the racism, the targeting. I mean, everything, we get the brunt of it because we are the men and we're black. And there's a lot of times there's no coping mechanism for it. You just kind of have to internalize everything, and that's where a lot of the depression comes from, and the stress, and just you don't really have any way to cope with it except for just deal with it. You're a man, deal with it, man up, be tough. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm glad we have platforms like this and others that we can go listen to, that we can come express some feelings and emotions on certain subjects. And I mean, we constantly feel like we got to prove something. You constantly feel like you have to prove your worth, even though we know worth is not measured. I mean, like you said, just not measured in money. Like, I know guys that can make, a ton of money and be a horrible father or a horrible husband.
Yeah, true. Elon Musk. Yeah.
Right.
He got all the money in the world. He's a fucking Nazi.
It's not completely measured in money, in monetary value, but it kind of is. It kind of is, right? Like, as a man, you feel like I have to provide for my family. If I'm not providing that monetary value, I'm failing. But you kind of feel that way, and it's sad. It's sad sometimes because we know that doesn't lead to complete happiness, but we chase it anyway. Maybe that's a symptom or a byproduct of capitalism. We feel like we have to constantly chase. Our value is tied to what we can give you. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks sometimes, but I mean, what are we supposed to do? What are you supposed to do?
I think so that was actually what I was going to come up with next. I was looking at so just kind of like when we in the video by the she's PhD, Dr. Raquel Martin.
Yeah.
She talks about how how we address something like this as black men who may be aware enough to realize these kind of symptoms in ourselves, and not necessarily the physiological stuff that happens as a result of like this. What is this? It's JOHNHENRYISM. What's it like? It's not. I don't know what you call it. But anyway, of this like mindset, right? And like I think one of the main things she mentions is like, one of the first things is like acknowledging it and finding and acknowledging your own worth, right? Your own self-worth. And I find that that's one of those things where, not that it's simple, because it is not simple acknowledging your own self-worth, but I find that acknowledging your own self-worth is a good baseline remedy for a lot of like things such as depression or not that I'm like giving advice because I'm not a doctor, but like if you can acknowledge your own self-worth, then you can think better of yourself, right? And it gives you a good baseline to start from for changing your behavior, right? A lot of people do try to escape themselves.
So I was going to say, unfortunately, for a lot of people, for a lot of Black men, that is something. Acknowledging their self-worth is something that is never going to happen. It's a very unfortunate fact for a lot of Black men, and the reason why is because of byproduct of society of our societal culture, where we are not looked up to, we are looked down on. We are looked at as less than. And you can be the most charismatic, positive person in the world, and that will still weigh down. That will still weigh down on even the most charismatic individual.
Sure.
For a lot of people, they go their whole lives, instead of seeking validation within themselves, from themselves, they seek validation from others. Unfortunately, the validation from that they're looking for from others comes from the wrong sect of people. And that is the people who, white people who control more authority figures,
people
bosses,
who want something from
officers, people who want things from you at a lower level. But like, they feel like that validation is better than looking inward. Because a lot of people are also afraid of what they might find when they actually look inward. And so they avoid it. They don't want to do it. They're because they would also have to look at, in order to realize their self-worth, they have to look at their flaws too.
Yes.
And a lot of people are not willing to do that.
That's the biggest part of it.
And a lot of people, their egos will 100% prevent them from doing that. So, yes, that is solid advice. It's just, you're right. It's not simple. For a lot of people, it's nearly impossible because they refuse through however they were brought up, whatever childhood they had, whatever upbringing, whatever life experiences that they have, circumstances, whatever have you. Looking inward is something that people cannot bring themselves to do. And it's something, I'm not saying present company. I'm not saying like,
No. Like we have prime examples of the most powerful people in this country, people who refuse to look inward.
Right. Like nothing is ever their fault. Nothing, so it's just,
they can't. Yeah.
There are levels to a person actually wanting to look inward. And the most important aspect of that too is that in order for a person to look inward, they have to want to look inward. They have to want to change. They have to want to be able to accept themselves fully.
That acknowledgement is the first step.
Right. But at the same time, they have to accept themselves fully, which means flaws and all, right? Wounds and all, everything. But let's say in the case of a person who actually does want to do that and is willing to go through that journey, they come out better for it.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt like hell, but they're going to come out better for it. And they're going to come out with a different perspective and outlook. And hopefully, circumstantially, they can use their current circumstances to elevate themselves on top of having a new outlook on themselves and on life. But a lot of people, man, people love to, again, external validation is huge, and people love being comfortable, right?
Yeah.
They love living in blindness.
Human beings are very social creatures, so outward validation is not all bad. We want to be accepted by the group.
Everyone wants to be accepted. Everyone wants attention.
Yeah, obviously, inner validation is. I mean, if you're not happy within yourself, it doesn't matter what anybody tells you. I mean, you have to look at like you said, you have to look at your flaws and what did I do wrong. I never trust anybody who never reflects and thinks, what did I do wrong in the situation? Like if you're talking about something and nothing is ever your fault, You know, it's always something else that happened that caused this. You know, you got to look internally sometimes. So, you know, I wouldn't say I would never trust anyone, but you know,
it's hard to do. Like, so
it
it's
is
hard
hard
to
to
like
acknowledge your
judge
flaws,
somebody
man. It is.
who doesn't, right? Because for me personally, like I speak of past tense, I still am, but I'm a pretty cocky dude, right? So there's times where like I've had to have like, I've had to take the fucking
You have to take the L.
disappointments and take the L's. And I remember like at one severe point, I had to take a hard L, and I had a choice. And I remember thinking distinctly, like I remember being presented with the choice of blaming somebody else or blaming myself. And it was for me personally, it was a surreal moment. And instinctually, I was gonna blame somebody else, but when you get to a point, when you do this enough times, at some point you think you do have to look at yourself, and then that's kind of like then it's one step at a time, right? It doesn't all happen at once. So it's practice to like, it's practice to be honest with yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's just one of the things, and as when we're younger, or like when you're not presented with certain choices, some people don't feel like they have to go that route, right? So again, it takes that first step of like acknowledgement that like maybe this is something that I have to like own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Certain level of humility that has to be involved in all of this.
Yeah, exactly. And humility is a hard thing, man. It's a hard thing, man. Like we're trained against it. Like in this society, like in this world, we are taught not to apologize. We're taught to push back, like especially as men. Like,
and even all these issues that we're talking about, it like with the pressure of society, the societal pressure that's on the shoulders. A lot of these are exacerbated because of like I said, the societal pressure is exacerbated for the black man, right? Like we have to doubly try to prove our self-worth to ourselves. Yeah. I mean, when we do want validation from the group, we have to work extra hard to get that validation from the group. You want to, that promotion at work, you feel like you have to work extra hard to get that promote. You have to prove that you're not threatening to the power structure, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
That because
they'll target us, because if we are threatening, they target us if we do too good.
Right. Yeah. If you're too threatening, you can't do too good. You can't be too ghetto. You can't be too, you got to be. It's a fine line,
Mm-hmm.
But and one thing I say with that, when you see some ghetto black folk, they ghetto, man. Like even me, man. I'm black, but I'm like, dude, stop acting so goddamn ghetto, man. All right, damn. Like have a certain level of, like just the aura about yourself, man. Like you acting ghetto. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. We have to do better as a people sometimes too, and I know that's hard because of the JOHNHENRYISM and the societal pressures that go along with everything that we're talking about in this conversation. But sometimes we have to do better as a people as well, man.
Hey, them first.
Yeah, oh yeah, hell yeah, them first.
Yeah, y'all first and shit.
Y'all set the parameters for this
y'all do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, hey,
y'all want me to act better, y'all be better.
You know what I'm saying? Like, make me act out because y'all fucking acting crazy and shit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, man, I get it, man. It's tough, man. It's tough, and you're not, even with your family sometimes, right? Like you're not really supposed to show emotion. You can be emotional with your wife or your girlfriend, your significant other, but you kind of feel like you have to internalize a lot of that stuff, right? Like I can't be too overly emotional, right? As a man, you can't be overly emotional. So where's the line? Where's the line between no emotion and emotional? Like.
So
can I ask you guys a personal question? As men, have you ever cried in front of your wives? Like, I mean, tears streaming.
No.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever cried in front of my current.
I don't think it's that I wouldn't. I just haven't
Yeah, right.
Nothing has. Yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah,
like I just haven't had nothing hit me like that. I don't think it's that I wouldn't like or I couldn't, you know, but like, you know, sometimes it's just like.
And I think also kind of speaking on that, to add to that, I think it's about men showing vulnerability, but there's also something that comes with that, right? Like if you have the right partner, I feel like it's okay and easy for men to be vulnerable. But there are a lot of men out there that don't have the right partner, and those men feel like they can't be vulnerable with their partner because the partner will use that against them, or they will they won't respect them, or they'll turn on them in some way, shape, or form. And that dynamic has to do a lot more with the relationship between the two people, but it's still a matter of, yes, there is, to a point, there is like, we've been societally programmed to not show any emotion, and the only emotion we're allowed to show is anger, right? Because that's what's acceptable in society. But we're not allowed to show any other emotions because those emotions are seen as feminine. You know, no crying or complaining or you know, or saying how we feel. Like, you know, if we're feeling pain somewhere, we can't talk about it, or things like that. You know, something that's seen as,
or being too happy. Like
right. Like, again, society saying, man,
that's fucked up. I can't show that I'm too happy. That's fucked up, bro. Damn.
Well, I mean, this is the world we live in.
You're right though. Yeah.
This is the culture we live in America, right? Like, so it I guess to like a fully holistic answer to your question, I have not cried in front of my partner, in front of my wife, but I feel like I could if there was something to cry about.
Yeah.
But I think part of that also is having to do with, like, you know, well, damn, we're the providers, right? We're the you know, we got to be tough. We gotta push that shit down.
Now I feel like I was at Juice's wedding. I feel like Juice dropped a tear there towards the end, man. I feel like I saw you drop a tear there, Juice. I don't know.
Well, I mean, and so what's wrong with that, though?
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that.
Cool. It was cool. You know,
I'm positive. A little soft. Positive, you're sure.
Hey, look, it was
sure you're correct.
Hey, look, it was a little soft, but it's cool. You know,
a little soft.
Again, gentlemen, like that, but that's okay. That's one of the places to do it, you know, like, so, but like, I think that has a lot to do with the relationship, with having the partner that gives you the space and allows you to be vulnerable, because you're a human being, right? You have all of the range of emotions. You're born with all of the range of emotions. So why not? You should also be allowed to express all of them as a man. But you know, society says, nah, you can't do that. He's like, well, that pisses me off. It's like, whoa, that's okay.
Yeah, that's all right.
You can be angry.
You know,
that's like,
put that hand on that gun. Yeah, you can be pissed. Go ahead.
Yeah, anger is like the only acceptable emotion for. Well, they will like you to think, you know, but
yeah.
So all of our heroes portray. Like, it's wild, man, because, like, again, like, it's propaganda, right? Like, not even propaganda, but it is. It's just like the way that people are. When you see a man in a movie, right, and he's going through something, like, he's always got to punch something. Mm-hmm. He's always got to, like, break something to show that
let
he's
it out in an unhealthy way.
Yeah, and it's just like, and then we see that growing up or whatever, and we expect, you know, that's the way it should be. And then the other part of it is that, like, you know, as times change, I feel like ideas shift, and people start realizing that, hey, there's better ways to release this anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
There's better ways to release this anger or these upset feelings or whatever. And then you got this other fucking side that comes in and is like, nah, son, that's fill in the blank.
That's soft.
Yeah, soft.
Gay. That's gay.
That's gay. Yeah, that's. They come out and they start like, yeah, they start pointing fingers and calling names and shit. And it's like, yeah, it's
even
wild.
we do it to ourselves. You know, it's ingrained in us too. I mean, like Frank said, you know,
As
you gotta have the right partner.
Yeah, it's true.
Women do it. You know, I've seen a guy, you know, not seem as tough in front of women, and the women call him soft and he's a bitch and all this. You know what I'm saying? So it's yeah, it's tough, man. You know, I was telling my guy, man, like it's hard being in America because you want to be proud, but this country puts a lot of pressure on you as a black man, and that's my experience. That's what I can speak to. But and just as a man in general, you know, like not only as a black man, but even a man in general, you know, buckle down, don't show any emotion, provide, and shut the fuck up. You know, it's tough.
That's pretty much it.
And the one
pretty
person,
much it.
Like you guys said, the one person you can be vulnerable with, and I think I can too. Even to me, sometimes though, it feels like I can be vulnerable, but should I be? Because I should have the face of toughness and the face of masculinity. I should be
it feels like you're always doing a calculation of when you can be.
But at the same time, you should always feel like you should be able to.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to come out. It doesn't have to come out as like full blown ugly crying.
Yeah.
It could just be being able to vent.
Yeah, just venting
about your day. Like, yo, you don't want to be hear the bullshit that happened to me today at work.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
man, like, I'll be venting.
and Claudine listens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yo, that's crazy or some shit, right? But it's less like
so that's crazy.
You know, but it's like that's something that like, you know, I would hope that like your partner should not throw back in your face. And that's what a lot of men go through, you know, outside of present company, right? Like that's what a lot of men go through. They can't exactly. They feel like that they can't express themselves in any way really, except to be angry or to just shut the fuck up, right? And it's like a lot of men go through that because they feel like their partners will unreliably use that information against them.
Which that's fucked up. I mean, if I'm vulnerable with you to the point where I'm expressing my emotions and you throw that shit back in my face,
hey,
that is, yeah, I've heard that before.
It happens. It happens to women too. You know, I'm not gonna say it's just men. Women. There are a whole bunch of women out there that are super afraid to express themselves freely to their partners because their partners will get mad. You know, the male partners will get mad. You know, abuse is possible. Like there's a lot. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides.
Yeah.
You know, so in this case, in this context, like speaking of like JOHNHENRYISM, right? Like there's a lot that has to do with what we were just talking about. But it's just like you should be able to feel like you can be vulnerable with your partner, in whatever way. You know, having those tough conversations. You should be able to express yourself in that way, right? Like, look, I like there was something that happened the other day. I took time to think about it, but I really didn't like the way that went down. Let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you should be able to have those conversations. You know, so it's like, you know, you can express joy at an accomplishment, right? It's just like there are just like so many people out there that can't even do that. Like that range of expression, can't do it.
Which you got to be a special type of dude if you don't let your woman express herself emotionally to you without throwing the shit back in her face in some way, shape, or form.
It happens, man.
You got to be
a lot of toxic people, man.
You got to be one of those Tyler Perry dudes that be in the movies, like the straight asshole dudes that just don't give a, you know.
They're based off of real people, man.
Yeah, you ever seen Diary of a Bad Black Woman? You seen that?
Yeah.
No, that dude was the worst. Oh, that lawyer guy. I'm like, is that motherfucker real? Is he real? You know?
Yes,
Come
dude.
on,
Yeah,
People
it gets
out
up
there
for
like
real
that,
people,
son.
man.
that motherfucker was dragging her down the
Shocker, you
hallway to
might
throw her
know
out.
some of them.
Damn.
You might know a couple of them.
Nah, I can't. Nah, there's no way. I'd be shocked.
Shocked and appalled.
Yeah, this nigga dragged this girl down the hallway and kicked her out. Like, what?
But
yeah, man.
Let me just read this real quick. So James, what's his name? Sherman James, the guy who developed the term, developed a 12-item scale called the JOHNHENRYISM scale for active coping, or JHA. The three themes that were deemed important in measuring JOHNHENRYISM were: 1, efficacious mental and physical vigor, a strong commitment to hard work, and a single-minded determination to succeed. The scale developed for measuring JOHNHENRYISM was based on the agreement with a series of statements such as these. So you have to agree with these types of statements. When things don't go the way I want them to, that just makes me work even harder. And I've always felt I can make of my life pretty much what I wanted to make of it. So, just some more trivia. The scale was used to measure the extent to which men believe they can control their environment through hard work and determination. Oh, pretty interesting.
Man.
You know, it kind of,
in a way, it's kind of positive though.
It's kind of
definitely
kind
of positive.
It's not. Yeah, I don't think. I don't think it's something. I don't think it's something that should be. What's the word? For lack of a better word, praised because of the long-term effect of it. But
yeah,
there are positive qualities.
Yeah.
You know, sure.
Hard work, determination, having the vigor to pursue goals.
But
that's all animes ever told me I need to do.
But this is to an extreme.
That's the propaganda.
But this is to an extreme where you literally end your life
by
living those tenets till your heart can't take anymore. You know. So yeah, they're great qualities though. But the way it should be, I feel like it should be to a point where you can be happy with the results of what you have been able to accomplish through hard work and determination and will to succeed.
Yeah.
You know, and then once you are successful at that thing or the things, then you can kind of like relax and be like, and just like, okay, I did this. This is great.
The ability to reap the benefits of what you've done is very important to this.
Yeah.
But we have to understand also that, as always, this is a political, systemic rooted issue. Like to work, again, I said it earlier, but work is not tied to success. It's just not. Like it's not inextricably tied to success. This is not a merit-based world we live in. We like to think it is, and it would be nice if it was. And to a degree, you can get to a certain point through your hard work. But the people with the most are not the people who work the hardest. And the people with the least often are people who have worked very, very hard.
Mm-hmm.
These are political, these are systemic, systemic issues that need to be, addressed by people.
Yeah. I think therapy would serve a lot of, and I guess we're going to specifically talk about JOHNHENRYISM with black men, but I think it would serve a lot of black men.
I think so.
Man.
What you talking about? What you talking about? Black people don't do therapy.
Yeah. we should. We should be able to express emotions, especially the men.
Of course,
especially the men.
Of course, black people do therapy. It's just that it's stigmatized.
It is.
Like
it is.
It's
like
not,
you're weak. You can't do it for yourself. You can't handle it yourself.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Everybody needs therapy. I think everybody needs therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. We'll talk.
Hey, welcome to the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast, man.
Yeah, we need therapy too.
Yeah, we need therapy too.
Yeah,
That's a tagline on
that's a tag and shit.
We need therapy too.
We need therapy too.